find yourself getting passed by multiple cars, as I mentioned earlier on. So Newhoff in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. He doesn't qualify as well as he races.
Up front, they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Varani not very far apart at all here. But I just want to see how Alistair Haig deals with Marcello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
I would say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately or something. What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on them, too much feet on the down pedal, and unfortunately he's dropped him all the way down the order. But Philip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And it definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Difficult, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down it towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Varani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is Pike's pushed Morton forward up ahead. He's got out of line. It's now Pike going to have a go at Werrell. Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such trouble. He's left on second and change. All of a sudden Miller's back in play.
Moving on to the back end of Phil Jocelyn. So there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's a lot of fun. Yeah. It's all about the entertainment, so I hope everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is enjoying himself watching. And Burger King machine's off into the grass a little bit there. Is that really bunching up now?
Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
They're going to toss it. They haven't got it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such trouble. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Radical Race Series Round 3, Season 2 at Road Atlanta. I am James Barber, going to be joined in the booth by one Mr. Ewan. I think we've got technical issues with Ewan's mic at the moment, as I can't hear him at all speaking, but we have got a load of static coming out at the moment, so bear with us on that one. But we're here. It is Road Atlanta. We start the American leg of the tour as we go from Road Atlanta to Watkins Glen, and then we go up to Imola, and then down to Australia, then over to Brazil, into Canada, and then we've got 3 rounds of America, Barber Motorsport Park, Sebring International, and then finish off at Road America itself. Let's see, we've got Ewan back in the booth. Ewan, can you hear us okay, sir?
Yeah, I can. Sorry about that. My laptop doesn't like me. It's done this before, so that's good. But I'm back now. It should be fine for the rest. But yeah, it feels like we've not been absent from Road Atlanta for very long, does it? Really, we were here at the back end of the previous season, and all of a sudden, round 3, we're back here again in a very American start to the season and a very American end as well. As we've spoken about in previous weeks, but I'm never disappointed to be at Road Atlanta.
No, I think we're here, aren't we? I think, to be honest, where was it, the back of last season, wasn't it, when we hit, I can't remember, when we hit October, November, and then we had Petit Le Mans, and then we had, it was just every round or every race we did was Road Atlanta. It was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's been on very, very regularly, and here we are again. Here are the points going into the 3rd round of the championship. Luke Maxwell leading James Barry by 1 point. They've both had great starts to the season. George Gonzaga and Mike Bousson are quite a long way off that. Then we've got Paul Clark, who is 5th, ahead of Damien G, James Ritchie, and then that makes up 7 of the 8 drivers who have been at both races so far this season. Only 8 drivers so far, which is remarkable. Abdul Al-Amri took his debut win last week, and he is 8th in the standings. There's John McCutcheon, who I haven't seen yet, actually.
No, he is here.
He is here.
Yeah.
He's made a late appearance, so glad to see John back. Paul Crabb and Paul LeMay round out the top 10 with then Joseph Emmett 11th. It's Paul Clark 12th, ahead of Robert Woodard, who's tied together with Clark, actually. Michael LeMay and David Walter round out the top 15. Then Seth Brown, David Rollison, David Beasley, Stuart Geddes and Phil Jocelyn, the only drivers to really score points. Graham Brown hasn't really. Alan Patterson hasn't taken the start of any race yet this season. We'll see if he does today. Good to see John back again, though, and most of all, we've seen John already this season, but we haven't seen Simon Edwards yet this season. Last week was preparing a bit more for Sebring than he was for the Radical Race Series, but he's back again now. I think he was posting a crash of his in Discord the other day, actually, from Sebring, which turned out to be wet in the end, of course, as many expected. It was almost guaranteed, wasn't it, that some of that race was going to be in the rain, and he was able to negotiate that, and that's what he was preparing for last time, but hopefully he's here for the rest of the season now.
Yeah, of course, that's a chaos. Every split was wet, and JPB had a team in the Sebring as well, and they were literally like, it just came down, and then it was just absolutely chaotic. They were down in 50 at one point, and then they finished in 7th. Finished P5 in class and 7th overall. So yeah, it wasn't too bad for the team of Wayne Palmer, Keir Palmer, and Paul Goddard. But it was literally guaranteed Sebring was going to just come down, wasn't it? Hammer down on people.
Yeah, it's the first special event, endurance event anyway, that had rain, so it's to be expected. And I've just watched the video of him understeering into the wall at Sunset Bend, so good, but easily done in the rain and the puddles that difficult to navigate on occasion. I haven't seen James Barry here, or wasn't there for the practice session, but he's here now. He's in the top 5. Luke Maxwell is here as well, and he's just going over the line to set his first time of the day. That's not representative of where he's going to be with a 1 minute 19.2. But this was an encouraging practice session, I've got to say. More than 10 drivers within a second. I know it's a short circuit, but it's good news for the race that we could get an interesting one between a lot of different drivers.
Yeah, I think that's the good thing about this season. I'm not saying that the seasons before haven't been good, because we've been here now 18 months, I think it is, doing this. I think it's so open. That's the thing with this season. It's so open, and anybody really at the moment's got the opportunity to win it. You know, Simon's not even got points on the board. Luke is 120 points for the good. James Barry is here as well. He's on 119. John McCutcheon's down in the mid-pack. So literally anything can happen here this season, and I think this could be probably one of the most exciting ones we've had.
Well, yeah, it's worth not getting too far ahead of ourselves at round 3, but we are looking good so far its time around. In terms of circuits that appear a lot and are appearing again here this season, we're going to Bathurst in 3 weeks' time. That is I think we worked out that last season, wasn't it, that it was the most used circuit in this series, actually. And statistically true, that one, having overtaken the Nordschleife now that we don't go there anymore. But people don't resent Bathurst quite so much, and so we're glad to have that back on the calendar again, although it is for the millionth season in a row. And we also do have Sebring at round 10. I'm not the biggest fan of Sebring, but it does always seem to appear. And Road America is a fairly regular fixture on this calendar, so we've got a few stalwarts of the calendar, but some circuits we don't often go to as well. Can't remember the last time we were into Lagos, for example. That's coming up in 4 weeks' time, towards the end of April. Not the championship finale, as I think every series should end at Interlagos. You get the point. I agree. Slightly joking, but it's a good track, and I'm glad to see that on the calendar for the first time in a little while. And who knows where we're going to be going in the penultimate week? That is still to be confirmed. Yeah, it is. It's quite interesting, this calendar, because when this first official come out, I sat there and I was like, I said to Darryl, so what have they done here? They literally took every popular track and just chucked it onto the calendar this year, and just as a bit of a red herring, we'll throw Rudskogen in there. And you're like, how did Rudskogen get into the list of iconic circuits like Laguna, Road Atlanta, Watkins, Imola, Mount Panorama, Interlagos, Canadian Tire, Mosport, we've been there before, Barber, Sebring, Road America? They're all, it's like they've taken all the popular tracks this season and gone, right, there you go, you can have them all this season. I want to see what they're going to do next season, but I think they've just got all the tracks that they know work and just chucked them onto one calendar this season. Yeah, maybe. Maybe that's the best way to do it as well. I think we came to the conclusion last week, though, that Rudskogen was on because it's a free track. You've got to have a certain amount on the calendar. I'm not sure that's true for every series, but I reckon it might be a factor that was
but what tracks at play. Were free here? This is the thing. Apart from Rudskogen,
it's a good point. I don't see any others.
No. Mosport, you've got to pay. Barber, Sebring, Road America, you've got to pay for all the others. So I don't know why they just randomly put Rudskogen in there. You know what I mean? They could have put Alton Park. No. They would have had a full calendar of much loved racing circuits there as well. So yeah, that's what it is.
I think I'd say there is a free one every time, and we've used Alton Park quite regularly last season, or in the last seasons. I'm not complaining about that because it always does produce great racing in this series, and seemingly none of the others I cover. I don't know why. Alton Park is always quite dull unless it's the Radical Race series, and then it's quite exciting. But it's not included this time around, so we'll ignore that. 2.5 minutes remaining, and we've got spinners at turn 5 by the looks of things. Smokescreen in front of Luke Maxwell, who recently improved to the second row of the grid. Oh dear, is that Michael LeMay who's off the road?
Yeah, Michael LeMay at turn 5.
Yeah,
he took
like it from up there.
Yeah, he took half the curb. We talk about this curb every single time, and it's one of them where we say, right, you've either got to take it all or you've got to leave it alone. You can't half-heart it, because if you half-heart it, you do what Michael LeMay did. You've either got to put your car fully on it, or just don't touch it. That's the easiest situation. You know, it's such a difficult curve because at times it just does want to kill you quite rapidly.
Yeah, it does, and that's going to be a key thing to watch out for in the race. I can still see smoke hanging in the air through there. I imagine that won't be the last spin we see today through that corner. So Paul LeMay is leading the way. What a great qualifying performance so far, by the way, from Paul LeMay. Really fantastic from Paul so far. Can't remember the last time we... Oh, just be quiet, Ewan. What are you talking about? Look at him. He's spun into the wall as soon as I was complimenting him. Well, that's just typical, isn't it? That's the end of Paul LeMay's session, but he might be okay. Don't see Edwards or Bousson improving on this lap. They will have one more, I think. Or will they?
I think they're too far away. They're too far away. 1:15 is the lap time, and Edwards is one... Where is he? He's
not through, so yeah.
No, he's not going to get there. So Edwards and Bousson, this is it. This is their final hurrah, their final flurry. And at the moment, neither of them are really improving. Edwards is not improved, and Bousson's not improved. However, James Barry has got some greens on the board, and Johnny McHutch has got a purple.
Oh, close.
Yeah.
So, is Hutchinson being slowed up there, maybe? Not sure, by Damien G, I think it was. But it's going to be John McHutchinson up to the line. No, he may have been slowed up in the final sector there because he was purple in the third. But what a great qualifying session. 6 cars covered by 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. Now, my plan, or my hope, right, is the last time we saw Paul LeMay on pole, if I remember correctly, there was one that he did at Sebring that he didn't go anywhere, right? Did he? He didn't move. There was another one not long after that. I can't remember the circuit where he was, but he just didn't go anywhere again. And I can't remember him being on pole since. Now, this is the last time the first time I remember him being on pole for a while. So I'm hoping he doesn't just dull off the line, should we say.
Yeah, we'll see what happens as we get ready for this first race at Road Atlanta. It's Paul LeMay who takes a pole position by the finest of margins. Simon Edwards, James Barry, Mike Bousson and Luke Maxwell all within 1/10 of a second. John McHutchinson within 2. He's on the third row ahead of Paul Clark and George Gonzaga. Then it's Graham Brown and 2-time champion Paul Crabb to round out the top 10. Last week's feature race winner Abdul Al-Amri is 11th ahead of James McRitchie. That's an all feature race winning debutant duo there on the 6th row ahead of Michael LeMay and Robert Woodward. It's then Damien G and Phil Glover, who never really gets up to speed in qualifying by his own admission, who qualifies last. But it looks like we'll get all 16 onto the grid, and a bigger grid than we got last week, and a better circuit, I think is fair to say as well. What a race we could be in for with the top 6 within 0.2, the top 11 within half a second. Remarkable statistics.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely chaos. Good evening, Phil, by the way, as well. Yes, Ewan is fine now. Thank you, Phil. And Alton Park may be the last one, or the penultimate, second to last one, you should say. Is that still to be confirmed? But let's see what happens here. We're going to get this underway. Half a second between the top 11. I think it was barely a second across the whole field. So this could be quite sparky.
It could be interesting, and looking forward to seeing how we get on here, as it's the first time Simon Edwards and John McHutchinson, for example, have come up against one another in this season. Reigning champion, the 6-time champion, on the front row with Paul LeMay, who takes the first pole position in the Radical Race Series for quite some time. The lights come on at Road Atlanta, and we're ready to go racing. It is the first of 2 races in sprint and feature format racing, once again in the Radical Race Series, and an even start from the front 2. Paul LeMay will take his pole position into a lead through turn 1. Then it's Simon Edwards who's being hassled by James Barry over the top of the hill. Luke Maxwell tucks into 4th place as LeMay goes a bit wide. He hangs on to his lead. The teammates side by side. Bousson gets pushed back early on. John McHutchinson into the top 5.
Yeah, McHutchinson got a flyer. He's up 1 place here as well. LeMay was doing so well, then got held up going through turn 2 and 3. It looks like he might have just copped a slowdown coming out of 5, and he's in the middle of the circuit. Unfortunately for Paul LeMay, he's just been swamped there, and that has dropped him all the way down into fourth. First to fourth in a matter of corners, and turn 5 playing its part again. But this is the first run up that long back straight as they go down into 10A and 10B.
Not sure who that is flashing the lights. It could be George Gonzaga there, but he's not pleased with something as we do go side by side on the straight. Here comes Luke Maxwell for the lead, maybe, as John McCutcheon's hounding Simon Edwards as well, with 3 wide for the lead down into turn 10A here at Road Atlanta. It's Maxwell on the outside. He's not willing to force the issue early on in this race, and so Simon Edwards will lead at the end of 1 lap around this circuit at Road Atlanta. It is 10 still to go in an exciting sprint race. We've got off to a good start. Maxwell defends / attacks again. In fact, it is an attack. Into turn 1 he goes, tries to take the lead away in what's been a fantastic start from him. He and McCutcheon were sharing row 3 at the start of this race. They're now 2nd and 3rd. What great starts for the both of them, as McCutcheon is now hounding Simon Edwards for the lead.
Yeah, Luke went for an attack in turn 1, got it completely wrong, and unfortunately lost the place to John McCutcheon. So Luke going on the attack has cost him. Paul LeMay's trying to come back through the field, giving Maxwell a little bit of a hurry on. Then you got Buson, Barry, Clark, McRitchie, 6 seconds across the top 14. We lost George Gonzaga, and we've lost Damien G entered into the pit lane. So I'm not entirely sure what happened with Damien G, but he's in the pit lane and he is out again, but unfortunately is a long way back. But this is the run down into 10A. John McCutcheon now on board with Simon Edwards. In they go. McCutcheon pulls out into the inside, doesn't make the move this time around. And as we've seen previously, where do you want to be on the final lap, Ewan? In front or behind?
Well, these were the games that were being played only a couple of months ago when we were last here in the previous season of the Radical Race Series. That was the real debate. Do you want to be second going on to the last lap or first? And it looks like it may even be turn 1 where moves are being made today, although that was all wrong. The entry there was not what John McCutcheon was hoping for. He shuts the door firmly in Luke Maxwell's face, but he's got some catching to do now.
Yeah, they've got to try and work together. If Maxwell or McCutcheon want to try and even remotely get to the back of Simon Edwards, we know how quick Edwards can be. We know he's probably got 0 or 1 or bare minimum on that Radical. We saw it actually at Road Atlanta last year. Even with the draft, some of these cars still couldn't clear Simon Edwards, and I think it would probably be the same again, and that would be the struggle for them. They've got to be able to try and close that gap down. They've got to try and break him down a bit by bit and see how close they can get to him as they come down the end of the straight.
It's all one long line, and if Simon Edwards can break the slipstream here, he'll be on his way to a victory, but McCutcheon doesn't want to let that happen. He's bringing with him Luke Maxwell, then Paul LeMay, who just fades to defend from Mike Buson. Then it's James Barry, Paul Clark at just over half a second further back. Ritchie, same for him in 8th place. Graham Brown's doing well inside the top 10. You can see there just inside the top 10. 9th place for him, then Michael LeMay, who's currently hanging on to 2nd race pole position. It's single file for the first time at the end of lap 3.
Yeah, they are for the very first time, but however, Paul LeMay decides that he's not going to do that. He wants to try and take it too wide. Buson's trying to slip in as well. He's not having much luck. Luke Maxwell now coming down and through turn 3 and 4 before they get down into the tricky 5. The left-hander, they've got to make sure they stay off or take all. Don't half that curb, otherwise you're going to be in trouble. But McCutcheon's sitting on his bike here. He's trying to get hold of Edwards, and at the moment, Maxwell's looking a little bit of a cork in the bottle here as Paul LeMay's waiting to pounce, and so is Mike Buson.
That was a half look up the inside there from Paul LeMay. You don't really want to do that turn 7 though, because your run onto the straight will be terrible, and it's so key at this circuit to get that sharp run off of turn 7. Mike Buson almost has nowhere to go here. He was so close to LeMay, he couldn't really get that slingshot. Now he's finally edged his way alongside. He needs to be braking very late down here at turn 10A to get the work done, and he has done. Paul LeMay, was giving a little bit more space maybe than you would otherwise, and Mike Buson makes his way up to 4th. Probably the best outcome for everybody there, but the notable thing here is that they've lost the front 2, Simon Edwards and John McCutcheon, in a battle of their own again.
Yeah, McCutcheon literally 2 attempts back now. He's set on his bike, isn't he? He's up 4 places. He's done an absolute stellar job. These guys go weaving through 3 and 4. I think John has got some pace on him, but whether or not he's going to have enough to get past Edwards going down the back straight, or, as we've seen before, whether or not he even wants to. Ewan, that's the problem, isn't it? Whether or not they even want to be making that move, or is he going to hold on till the last lap, the penultimate lap, before he gets the job done?
I think he has been holding on here so that the front two can get away from the rest of the field. I think he's been waiting for the final laps of this race so that they can sort of make it a two-car battle. If you're playing a percentage game, percentage of you winning in this group is in theory, on paper, 50%. If it's 7, I can't do that percentage, but it is not 50. As Gordon McCutson's going to forego that and get down the inside. Simon Edwards with the same thinking there and sort of lets McCutcheon through. Neither of them want to stay side by side because they want to keep this a two-car race.
Yeah, you do. You don't want to bring more in. The more you've got, the more entities, as you say, the less chance you've got of winning, and it just becomes one end of a problem after a problem after a problem. So they've got to make sure that they're breaking away as best they can. Don't try and trip over each other. Don't try and stop. The problem that Edwards has got is he's not looking as quick as McHutchinson. And now John has literally nearly pulled a second already over Simon Edwards. And at the moment, Maxwell's closer to Edwards, and Edwards is closer than Edwards is to McHutchinson.
That's got to have been a mistake that was made by Edwards. I didn't see one, but there must have been one, because you don't pull that kind of margin on pure pace if you're these two. At very maximum, John would be able to go about, 2 tenths a lap quicker than Simon Edwards, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Don't think he can go 9 tenths quicker in one sector. That would be remarkable. But we'll see. He seems to have kept just about close enough to benefit from the slipstream, and he's bringing that gap back to about half a second now as Maxwell's going on the defensive. This is basically cementing the top 2 positions. Maybe the others in this group be frustrated by this, but they're seemingly content to fight for third. Bousson looking at the inside here through the final corner. It's not going to happen as Maxwell defends again.
Yeah, and I'm waiting to see what the times. 151.1, 115.1, 115.4. So John McHutchinson was quicker. Bousson's just gone up the inside of Luke. He's going to see if he can go. Oh, don't do this. Don't do that. Nope. Okay. Luke does back out and allow these guys allows Mike Bousson to go in front. Is Luke struggling? It looks more like he's struggling on this circuit than the guys around him. Paul LeMay looks quicker as well. Bousson's clearly got some pace. Can Bousson now get onto the back of Edwards?
I don't know really. I remember him having the pace of McCutcheon and Edwards last time we were here, only a month ago, so I'd be surprised if he's lost all of that. But it's just the situation, I think, now where he's found himself in this group, and there's little he can do to actually get out of it. So he's just got to deal with this and try and get the best he can, which is third place, I think, on this race. He'll move to the inside of Bousson again. Maybe he's got a bit more slipstream, or not more slipstream, but more straight line speed, with a sleeker car maybe, because he's drafted past Bousson there with a bit more ease than Bousson did to him 1 lap ago, and Paul LeMay still waiting in the wings there in 5th place.
Yeah, Paul's just waiting to pounce at the moment. This defending is just slowing them both down. Bousson wrestled his way past Maxwell. LeMay's trying to wrestle as well, as we've gone side by side. Point it, aim, get it down into third. On we go through on the run down through 4 now, through the S's section here. So they're holding each other up, and you can see the front 2 have got away by nearly 3 seconds. So they are struggling here, and they've got to try and stop tripping over each other if they really want to make an impact.
Yeah, but I think that's gone now. They might as well fight for third place in any way that they can. And we were talking earlier about where do you want to be on the final lap? Do you want to be in front or behind? Well, that is complicated drastically if you have more than 2 cars in a group. And right now they've got 6 here. It's not just about the 3 who've been focusing on Bousson, Maxwell and LeMay. Paul Clark has caught on, so has James Barry and Graham Brown as well, as Simon Edwards begins to get in the mirrors of John McHutchison. 3 laps to go at the line. It's side by side again for third. Bousson and Maxwell. Bousson, slides through. He slides the tyres, locks up, rejoins at 10B and will drop to 6th place after going for third.
Yeah, that was it. From hero to zero in one foul swoop for John, and it was all over and done with there. One of the interesting things that we saw on that last lap was Edwards pulled out of the draft and literally ran the furthest line through turn 9 that he could possibly get. He was right out to the left-hand side of the grass. Didn't even want to touch the draft from John. So maybe Simon is playing games here, and we'll see where he ends up. Is it going to be... Well, he's only got 2 more laps after this one, so he's got to try and do it soon, whatever his plan is at the moment.
He has. This is remarkable stuff, and he could be in for a grandstand finish here between these two drivers if Edwards gets close enough, and he'll need to get closer. Graham Brown seems to have got past James Barry here as that group of 6 behind splits up into a trio of threes, trio of twos by the looks of things. Bousson and Clark, one of them. There is the side-by-side. Bousson straight past Clark, who might have a bit too much wing on if he's being overtaken that easily. He'll stay down to the inside but won't brake late enough. Bousson recovers one of those places lost on the previous lap.
Yeah, Edwards still tucked up behind McCutcheon. No, this is the thing. He's going into lap 10. He's got this one and one more. How's he going to play this? 15-1, 15-2 on the board, and then 15-3, 15-0 by Paul LeMay. The fastest man on that lap at the moment is Paul LeMay. He had pace in quali, just again a slowdown and off the start. Cost him, well, not a slowdown off the start, but a slowdown further into the lap. I think it was coming through turn 6 and 7. He actually got the slowdown, and unfortunately that did everything he did in qualifying, just unbuttoned it straight away. But Maxwell is just nearly in the wall as he comes out of turn 5. We'll have a look at that as these guys get down into 10A.
Yeah, that's given Paul LeMay third, and that might well seal it in terms of the final podium place. Look at Edwards here, weaving around to try and escape the slipstream of John McCutcheon by the looks of things. Neither of them really want to lead. Edwards still gaining. I'd imagine he's got less wing on probably, because that's what he normally does, but that may not be the case. Look at him trying to avoid the slipstream. Remarkable. Now they'll be on the final lap together. It will be all between those two. Meanwhile, for fourth, Paul Clark gets ahead of Mike Bousson as they fight it out. Then it's Luke Maxwell with a bit of a gap back to the next. Clark's raced brilliantly in this one to get up to fourth.
Yeah, Paul Clark in fourth at the moment. He's got Mike Bousson and Maxwell behind him. We can have a quick look here. These laps aren't very long, so we'll try and keep it sweet. Oh, turn 5. There we go.
Oh, good save. Good save.
Yeah,
he ended up in the wall on both sides.
Yeah, he kept it out the wall. But this is the one. If Edwards is going to do it now, this is it. He hasn't got another go. The final lap of the race.
Needs to be closer than this as well. Half a second is a bit far, in my opinion. Has John McCutcheon won this race on pure speed? And you might be thinking, well, that's how most races are won, to be honest. Well, that is true, but it's difficult around here with the slipstream towing your opponent along. It doesn't always mean that the fastest driver wins. Now, McCutcheon weaves around. There's one move to the right. There's a second one. He'll need to avoid making too many more than that as he moves to the right again here. Probably can't defend down the inside like he wants to, but he might not need to. Edwards closes, but he's way too far back. Quarter of a second is the margin, and that's going to be enough for John McCutcheon to sit on here. He wasn't present 1 week ago. Only one appearance in the season so far, but he's taking a sprint race win here in the Radical Race Series. The first race at Road Atlanta goes to him as it's side by side for fourth here. Mike Bousson gets ahead of Clark on the last lap, and Maxwell does not quite. Quarter of a tenth of a second between them.
Oh, blimey, that was a run and a half down to the line. And the line's not very far down. That's the problem. We got Damien G and George Gonzaga as these guys are going into the final chicane. Is Damien G going to be able to make a run down to the line as well? Can he carry? He's carried a lot more pace, but I don't think it's going to be enough as he's going to come down. That is Paul Crabb, I believe, who may have possibly run out of fuel as the Irishman as he comes chugging up to the line. He is completely out.
Oh. Is he? Couldn't hear him spluttering in fuel, really.
He had none. He was in fifth in none. Just none, to be honest.
Okay.
I'm going to presume it was that because he wouldn't go that slowly. He'd go from the last to first, would he? Unless he's taken off a slowdown, of course.
No, you wouldn't have thought so. So, well, we'll find out afterwards, I suppose. But John McCutcheon wins the race by 0.3 of a second ahead of Simon Edwards. Paul LeMay does a good job to convert pole into a podium. Mike Bousson overtakes Paul Clark at the end there to finish fourth. Luke Maxwell couldn't quite follow through. Graham Brown finishes in 7th position, kind of on his own, after dispatching James Barry. James Ritchie caught him, with Robert Woodward finishing 10th and getting pole for the second race. Abdul Al-Amri recovered from a poor start to get back to where he qualified. Glover made up places in that race. He was 12th ahead of Michael LeMay. George Gonzaga dropped back early, as did Damien G, and Paul Crabb dropped back very late in 16th position. So that's the opening race. Didn't quite get the last lap challenge that we were expecting, but I think the credit for that has to go to John McCutcheon.
Yeah, Simon left it too long. I think he wasn't close enough. He should have had it where he tried over on the last lap. I don't think he could possibly be able to get past him, and he didn't have enough in the tank, and unfortunately it was gone. Yes, Mr. O'Leary, I do agree.
Just for context, James has just put in the Discord, Paul Crabb, why so slow? That could be taken in the wrong way.
Yes. Scott Barton, morning lads, morning buddy, the resident Australian from the iFormula League there. Scotty, welcome in buddy, thank you so much. And work with Scotty on the Premier Endurance as well. So Scotty, an Australian, up nice and early here to watch us talk about SR10s.
Yes, I'm not sure how early it is. I'm going to imagine
they're 11 hours at the moment.
7 hours?
11.
Oh, 11, sorry. 7, wow. 11, half 8 then, yeah. Okay, yeah, good morning. It's a good thing, and a good time to watch if you're just waking up, I suppose, and that's part of the world. Why not? As the checkered flag waves. A very exciting race coming up here. It's the reverse grid race. The top 10 have been flipped on its head, and that's put Robert Woodward first. It will be James Ritchie alongside with James Barry, who struggled in pace a little bit in that first race, third. Then Graham Brown, fourth, ahead of Luke Maxwell and Paul Clark. Mike Bousson will be alongside Paul LeMay. Then it will be previous champions Simon Edwards and John McCutcheon sharing row 5. Abdul Al-Amri will be alongside Phil Glover on row 6. Then it's Michael LeMay and George Gonzaga, Damien G and Paul Crabb to round out the 16 drivers on the grid here today. And noticeably, they get ready for the second race a lot quicker than they get ready for the first. There's a view from Paul Crabb as we look forward to 5 red lights and another race here at Road Atlanta. The second race, the feature 19-lap affair at Road Atlanta is now underway. It's a good start from Paul Clark in the midfield there, who tries to cover off a couple of the drivers, but there's no covering off James Barry. He tries to go to the inside of Robert Woodward early on. Can't quite do it. James Ritchie's now on the outside of Barry. They make slight contact. That could have been disastrous in front of the field. They've worked it out. They'll get single file. Behind that, it's Luke Maxwell who's fourth. Then Paul Clark. There is carnage in the background. Edwards is involved in it. McCutcheon hasn't been able to gain places because of it. And Paul LeMay is back there again. And for the second time, he's tipped round into a half spin by somebody. It's a disastrous start. Around goes Phil Glover as well as Paul LeMay, who returns back to the pit lane.
Yeah, Paul did not. He got caught up in the middle, and the initial contact was coming out of 3. And then, unfortunately, Phil's already up the inside. I'm not really sure where we were expecting Phil to go, unfortunately. Phil's rolling back. Oh, just unfortunately tags Damien G there. But Robert Woodward holding on, leading for the opening half lap. As James Barry looks like he's going to come through and take it.
He's done well to hold on so far, but this is going to be taken over now, and James Barry and Luke Maxwell, who have been fighting tooth and nail so far this season, are 1 and 2 again. Are they going to get away from the rest of the field in battle for this race win between themselves? You get the feeling the answer to that will be yes. Mike Bousson gets down the inside of James Ritchie. He'll be up to 5th place. Then Graham Brown looking for 6th. As McRitchie pushed offline, is just going backwards here, side by side, and Graham Brown goes through. McRitchie will be below Abdul Al-Amri as well. Not sure what happened to McRitchie there at turn 1, but he must have been pushed wide because Al-Amri wasn't even that close. He's through now, though, to 7th place in a good start for him, in a contrast to the first race start, actually, where he did lose a few places on lap 1. The opposite is the case in race 2. But noticeably, Edwards and McCutcheon are still where they started this race, just in the reverse order.
Yeah, they're not actually going anywhere. That's the problem. They're not even moving forward at all. We've got 19 laps here, and these guys are just not moving or not progressing. You know, and they're caught up, they're held up. We've got McRitchie now in front of McCutcheon. What John really needs to do is clear McRitchie as late as he possibly can down into the chicane, and then give Simon Edwards to something to think about. But instead, McRitchie lets them both through. Oh.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be involved in that, really. Graham Brown tentatively tries to get through on Abdul Al-Amri there. Mike Booston being less tentative with Robert Woodward, who gets down the inside of and goes through on pretty quickly into fourth then for Mike Booston, as Maxwell and Barry are very close to nose to tail into turn one. I think Maxwell can sense a chance for a feature race win here, because Barry wasn't that impressive in the first race, unfortunately. It's been the first time this season where I would say he's been slightly below the pace where you'd need to be to win a race. Finished in the lower part of the top 10. Maxwell, I think, is quicker and might try and seize this chance. He'll certainly try and seize this one, because Barry got it all wrong on the curb there, and now he's in the clutches of Paul Clark.
Yeah, we've got Paul Clark behind him. Is Paul going to take a win? The only win he did had, and I wasn't here and I missed it. And that was the first thing he said to me when I spoke to him on the phone the following day. Where were you last night? I said, sorry, man, I had to be somewhere else. He said, you missed my win. I said, all right, Paul, sorry. Yeah, his first win for absolutely ages. My win. That's what it was.
Well, yeah, my win sounds like there's only going to be one. Which,
I think that's what he was anticipating, Ewan, to be blatantly honest with me.
I think it's going to be difficult today. Luke Maxwell, odds-on favourite there for me at the moment, as Abdul Al-Amri gets back past Graham Brown, so that battle's not done yet. And John McCutcheon and Simon Edwards are there now too to wreak havoc as well. Into the final corner, Brown defends into the flat-out turn. I wouldn't advise that particularly, but it only exposes you for turn number one. Here goes McCutcheon looking to use that exposing, and he can't quite do it on that occasion. He will have to follow across the top, and they're still making less progress than you'd expect.
Yeah, they're not really going far very quickly. And the more they wait, the more that gap's extended. You can see it between McCutcheon and Maxwell. It's 4 seconds at the moment. That's going to be really tough to overturn. Bruson's got the fastest lap of the race on a 1:15.1. So well done to Mike. But this gap is very, very... That's tough to overturn 4 seconds within the space of 15 laps.
It is, and especially against the calibre of opponent which is present here today. There goes Mike Booston searching for, puzzlingly, the outside line, or at least it will be when they get to the braking zone. He's imagining he'll be ahead by the time they get there. In the end, he is correct, because Paul Clark can no longer challenge into turn 10A. Meanwhile, McCutcheon makes his way through on Graham Brown. Abdul Al-Amri, race 2 winner last week, will be next on the list. If he can get there in time, you'd imagine he will do, and they're all behind Robert Woodward here, who's done a good job to hold on to positions, but he's so far not had the speed of those around him. That's to be expected. So he'll be looking for a top 10 by the end of the day, just like what he got in that first race. This train ever growing, actually, behind Woodward for 5th.
Yeah, Woodward's a bit in a cork in a bottle. Just want to have a look back at Simon Edwards and John McCutcheon's start here, because neither of them went far and they didn't go very well here. So I'm wondering if the initial contact that we saw started at the top of the hill. There's Barry making the move, and we're sitting back thinking, okay, we're fine at the moment. Then there's a little bit of contact going into 3. Edwards is trying to cover off McCutcheon, which he just manages to do. They come over the hill. There we go. Amri and Paula may get into it. Yeah, and then Edwards unfortunately gets into it, get into it as well. So he might be carrying damage, and that could be why he can't get past anyone, because he is still holding damage. He's cleared Paul Crabb and James McRitchie, so he's got to try and set after John McCutcheon. And at the moment, Barry's under pressure from Bousson here right now, and Bousson is looking quick.
Yeah, he is. Maxwell is not getting away quite as much as you'd think. That was close into turn 1. And by the way, I'm pretty sure there's been something that's gone on in that second group there as McCutcheon gets up to 5th place, because Abdul Al-Amri is down in 13th place all of a sudden. He has been off the road, and we are seeing now why.
Graham Brown.
This is turn 7, is it?
Yeah, he's...
No, 6, I think. Or is it going to go into 7?
Yeah.
No, it will go into 7. There's Graham Brown up the inside tentatively, and he gets into the side of Amri. Again, contact for Edwards. That's the second bit of contact today in this race for him.
But was that more... Amri gave him room. So was that on the fact that Brown was using the famous saying of he who hesitates loses. And that was one of the things my dad told me when I started driving. He said, son, he who hesitates loses. I said, what does that mean? I couldn't figure it out until he took me on a roundabout and he nearly killed us both by diving out the roundabout. So, but as Barry's got past Luke Maxwell there, Buson's now tucked up behind. Barry's got a lot more pace in his second race, but that's what Graham Brown looked like. He looked like he hesitated and wasn't sure what he was doing.
Yeah, and, well, whatever it was, hesitation or not, he's got straight into the side of Al Emery there, and he might get himself in some trouble for that. No stewards' inquiries, by the way, to tell you of. That's why we haven't yet in the previous race at Rudskogen, so nothing to report there. There may be something to report here. I reckon Paul LeMay might have some inquiries to have on that one. I don't think anyone really did anything wrong there during his incidents. Just seemed to be side-to-side contact with himself and Abdul Al Amri. They seem to be giving each other space, but the sort of nature of the collision sent LeMay sideways in front of the field, and then the secondary one was not giving enough space to Phil Glover, who was on the outside. So I don't know if anything will really come of that start at race 2, but we'll wait and see and report on that in 1 week's time when we go to Watkins Glen in the Radical Race Series. Meanwhile, Mike Poussin heads his way into second, does he? Well, no. Heads himself right into the back of Luke Maxwell, almost, and then waits. Now, there's a bit more waiting going on here, I've got to say, and a battle for the lead that I wasn't expecting. Maxwell didn't have the speed to get away from the rest, and so he's now been joined by James Barry, who's found some speed, Mike Poussin, who's found some places in this race, and Paul Clark, who's along for the ride as well.
Yeah, Max McCutcheon's not too far away here. It keeps teetering on 1.5 to 1.7 seconds. When these guys are lined up behind each other and not fighting, it goes out to about 1.6, 1.7. When they start battling, it comes down to 1.4, 1.3, and then you're sitting there thinking, that 4-second gap that we were discussing, which doesn't seem very long ago, has come down quite a lot here from John McCutcheon. So is he still within the opportunity or chance? Maybe. I don't know, but these guys have got to sort it out whether or not they're going to stay or whether or not they're going to go, because McCutcheon is coming quite quickly.
He is, and that is not good news for any of them. A double race win could be on the cards, and I think Simon Edwards definitely does have damage now. He was overtaken by George Gonzaga there into turn 1. He's back to 9th place with James McRitchie and struggling here. He's not going to be in the conversation for the lead as we approach the halfway mark in this race. Edwards is back alongside Gonzaga. As soon as he gets alongside, he's not exactly pulling past quickly. Now finally he does make his way to 8th again, but he doesn't have the speed that he did in race 1.
No, I don't think he has. We think he's got damage with the initial contact and the secondary contact. So for Simon there, he's just going to have to try and hang on and try and keep as many places as he can. You can see as soon as he comes off the exit, it's almost like his 4/5 gear ratio's gone and he's got nothing there. He's obviously capitalised on Gonzaga's mistake, and Gonzaga should get him again going on the run through down to turn 5. That'd be interesting. Krabs gapped these guys by 2 seconds, chasing down Woodward in a he's about just about 9/10 back at the moment. But Mike Poussin, Luke Maxwell, Paul Clark, that gap now to John McCutcheon is less than a second. So McCutcheon has been pulling out time on the guys in front, and you can see he's got literally 1.2 seconds over the last 3 laps. So never count out the Scotsman just yet.
Nope, never write him off. And the fact that Clark is not quite with the other 3 is helping him grab a slipstream early. Meanwhile, Maxwell and Barry, the 2 championship leaders from the first 2 rounds so far, going door to door, toe to toe. And it's Maxwell who comes out on top, is it? Barry's still on the inside here, but it's a forlorn hope from him. He will have to tuck into line, and here goes Mike Poussin down to the inside. James Barry tries to fend him off on the front straight, but can't. Here goes Poussin. He's tentatively down the inside. Here's another chance for Maxwell to get away, although he had this opportunity presented to him earlier in the race. It's Mike Poussin who takes second position ahead of James Barry. Paul Clark's here, and John McCutcheon certainly now with the group.
Yeah, and he's got Paul Clark in front of him. We've seen that story before. So, again, yeah. So let's hope nothing comes of this one. I'm sure it'll be just a nice little friendly battle between these two, as Luke does open up a 1.1 second gap, but he's got to use this now to get away. But he's got 9 laps to defend. I am starting to wonder how the tyres would be. Normally round about 15, they might be all right, but 16, 17, 18, 19 could be a little bit squirrely by the time they get to the end of this.
We'll see when we get there, as James Barry looks for revenge here on Mike Bousson. Here goes John McCutcheon as well. He needs to get past Clark, who doesn't quite have the speed of the rest of them, although he is still speedy enough to stay within the group. So McCutcheon's dispatched of him. Barry is ahead of Bousson, but is Maxwell now away? 1.2 seconds. This was the opportunity that I thought he was going to seize earlier on in the race, and he looks like he might be now. That's big defending again, and this is only helping the cause for Maxwell. Inside line for James Barry as he's fending off Mike Bousson with ever more ferocity now, and does hang on to second place, but at what cost now for this race?
Yeah, Bousson looks quick. I'm just worried that every time we've seen Bousson and McCutcheon's been allowed to go through. They will deny it, but some of the times we have seen it looks fairly blatantly obvious. So, crabs on the grass on the back of your picture there. But I'm hoping Bousson doesn't allow him, because Bousson's got pace and he can't clear Barry. And I think if he did, he would open up enough of a gap to be able to close up something on Luke. But he just can't clear Barry. Barry is defending, well, stoutly, should we say, and just not letting Mike through. You've got to run it, Mike, and you've just got to be brave, mate. You've got to send it up there, open up the steering, get him out as wide as you can, and give him no opportunity to come back, which is what he did do that time. And I'm expecting Bousson to get on his bike here. I really am.
Well, will he be able to? It's difficult to get away at this circuit in these cars sometimes. I don't particularly think that the teammates have been letting one another through, to be honest, in recent seasons. I think that they will have been playing nice with one another, and that's the role of a teammate. But whether they've been letting one another through or not, I don't really think it's true. And they have said repeatedly, as you mentioned, they don't do team orders, and I believe them in that. But there's certainly they're more nicer with each other than they are with the rest of the field. But that's what teammates are there for at the end of the day. As Paul Crabbe is off the road here. He was in a battle with Robert Woodward, who's expertly hanging on to 6th place now in the race. Paul Crabbe was trying to take that off him after coming from 16th in this race. He was having a great drive. Well, unfortunately, he's almost back to 16th again after that incident.
Did you see coming out of 7? Look where McCutcheon is. He slid coming out of 7. Yeah, he slid coming out of 7, and he's defending from Paul Clark. Barry's trying to have a go at Bousson once more. McCutcheon does manage to hold on, but yeah, McCutcheon got a big slide coming out of 7, and that allowed these guys to open up a gap. And then, of course, their fighting going into 10A and 10B has caused them a problem. But we've got Gonzaga, Edwards, and Ritchie as well. And at the moment, Edwards can't stay ahead of anyone. He's just got no pace to stay ahead of anybody at the moment.
Yeah, I think he's got damage. As we've spoken about before, he is struggling today, and that has been as a result of 3 bits of contact throughout the day, I would say, from James Barry. I was looking at him. Simon Edwards, who is the one who's got damage today. Barry overtaken by John McCutcheon then, who's up to 3rd place, but this gap now nearly 2 seconds for Maxwell. I think he might be gone now.
Yeah, this is down into turn 1. John's just run it in deep. Barry's got nowhere to go. He's either going to run side by side and collect the draft off him if he can, or he's going to let him go, and he just let him go. And now it's all about whether or not Barry can just hold on to that little bit of draft that he is getting. Can Mike hold on to John? And is Mike going to be able to pull them forward enough with what we've got 6, just coming up to 5 laps remaining?
Yeah, it's not too long to go now. If the second group wants to win the race, they need to get on with it. Now McCutcheon looks to the inside, but Bousson gives him half a car width, not a full one, just hedging the bets maybe that there's going to be a move, but there wasn't, and McCutcheon stays behind. Now down the hill they go. You're going to need to take, I don't know what 6 divided by 2 seconds is really. They need about half a second a lap, I would say, to be given enough chances at making the overtake on Luke Maxwell. But don't forget, when they get into the slipstream, within 1 second or so, that gap will start to come down a lot quicker. So maybe they need a bit less than that. But even so, Maxwell's going to be difficult to catch from here. He was up there a month ago when we were at this location in the previous season of the Radical Race Series. It looks like he may well be successful again here. To the screen back, so an average of over the course of two.
You're cutting out on us, Ewan. For some reason, I'm not entirely sure why there, but you're cutting in and out. And at the moment, Buson's managed to stay ahead. The gap's down to 1.8 from 2. They've got to kind of almost NASCAR it and slot in behind each other as James Barry's just gone up the inside of John there. John runs wide, loses that place away, and Barry now takes it back there. Ewan sounds gone. He does sound a little bit gone now. I don't know if he's back. Are you back, Ewan?
Yeah, I am. I don't know what that was all about, but there we go. Internet that time. I'm having an array of technical problems today, which is good.
Not going well for you, dear sir, but I'll tell you what though, one man it is going well for is Mike Buson. He's opening up a 6 tenths to the guys behind. That gap's come down from 2 to 1.4 and decreasing just nearly on the straight. So Buson might be doing, I reckon he's got an opportunity if they just leave Buson out in front. It's when they don't allow Buson out in front and he gets caught up with the Barry and McCutcheon battle that they end up losing time. So leave Buson where he is. He's got pace for days at the moment.
Well, that would have been possible with John McCutcheon there, but with James Barry there, you don't know what he's going to do. Because he's not part of the team. Now, does John try and make a move here just to try and put him off? Well, sort of. Barry dove for the apex there and got it, but it wasn't comfortable. And it's now 1.3, 1.2. What's happening to Maxwell here? I don't know why he's losing speed all of a sudden, but he's
hemorrhaging time.
Catastrophically losing time. It's under a second all of a sudden. What is going on here to Luke Maxwell? It's constant, almost like he's got some sort of engine problem going on, but that surely seems impossible. What is happening here?
Oh no. Edwards is back in the pits. And
dear. James Ritchie up and over again.
And
he's been clattered. Oh, goodness me. This is a terrible accident. Wow.
Oh, you know where we're going with that one, right?
not the onboard camera.
Yep.
Well, take your eyes off the screen if you're travel sick, because have a look at this. Oh, James Ritchie can't avoid. He hits the wall, that makes it worse, and then he gets collected by someone.
And there he goes again.
Dear.
I'm not going to lie, I even got dizzy sat here watching that. It was that was quite horrible. I just hope it's not in VR. Otherwise, poor old James McRitchie's head's going to be spinning. And Barry, 1:15.014. The gap's down to 8 tenths, and we've only got 2 more laps to go, including the one they're on, so 2.5. Told you, leave Buson out in front. He's got pace for days here, and he's pulling in Maxwell at an absolute rapid rate. And I can guarantee that last lap, he pulled out a chunk. Literally 6 tenths, 9 tenths, nearly a second over 3 laps is Buson. He is flying as long as Barry leaves him alone.
But I think now that we're in the slipstream here with Mike Buson, he's left alone and he's going to be okay to catch in as he wants to. Second, or penultimate lap, 2 laps to go at the end of this one. Down towards the end of the straight again here for Mike Buson. Then it's James Barry, John McCutcheon in the line behind Luke Maxwell here with 2 laps to go. It looks like we are going to get our grandstand finish. It was such a margin that Luke Maxwell held earlier on in the day. I thought he wasn't going to be caught. Now he has been over the line. They'll go 2 laps to go. And Buson all of a sudden looking for the lead. It's a half look into turn 1. He will be pushing Maxwell up the hill here. Will even go for it at 2 and 3. Well, he thought about it, but doesn't quite do it.
No.
Locks up over the top of the hill. So does John McCutcheon, as they're all queuing up to pass Luke Maxwell.
Luke is running slow at the moment, coming through turn 4s down into 5. He is under pressure, and he's only got a lap and a half to hold on, and I don't know if he's going to be able to hold on. Buson's pace has just been rapid. He is literally stuck like a turbo-charged Noz in the back of that SR10 and is now absolutely flying. Maxwell slightly wide again. Here comes Buson one more time. Here comes Barry. Here comes McCutcheon. Buson can do with McCutcheon putting Barry under pressure, because the Barry ain't half open to sending it if he needs to.
And Buson's going to send it now at the final chicane. Luke Maxwell's overtaken here and has to defend from James Barry, actually, to hold on to second. Is this all a ploy to try and get second onto the final lap and take the win in that way? Well, he's just losing speed right now, is Luke Maxwell. Is he even going to be second going onto this last lap as the white flag waves? James Barry's right there. Is Mike Buson going to have the chance to get away and win this one alone? He might well do, as Barry gets to the outside at turn 1. This is a big gap now, and Mike Buson might be on his way to a win.
Yeah, he is. I think he's unstoppable. I really do believe the pace that he's got. He is flying. If he gets that gap out to 7-8 tenths, he's done. There's no way he's going to be caught now. But Maxwell gets it wrong again. He's now under pressure. McCutcheon can't get clear. And at the moment, we're Buson out at 7-8 tenths, which is what we said coming on to 7. Job done. Mike's just got to finish it off and get over that line, because there's no way they're pulling in 6-7 tenths nearly going around turn 7.
Well, this is going to be Mike Buson's day, is it? Up over the hill they go, onto the back straight. This is going to be about whether James Barry can overtake Luke Maxwell here. And he might be feeling, Luke, that he's thrown away a race win here, as it's side by side for second position. Barry's down the inside at turn 10A on this final lap, and he's got it. He has got it. Dive for the apex, and Maxwell might even lose his podium here to McCutcheon as Mike Buson comes round the final corner to win the feature race at Road Atlanta. It is just about a Luke Maxwell podium. That was very close at the line, but it's Mike Buson's day as George Gonzaga also gets past Robert Woodward, overtaking even on the grass on the last lap for 6th place.
Yeah, Paul Crabb's had a bit of a little ta-ta-ta, unfortunately, with Al Hamry going into 10A and 10B. And Hamry's on the inside, slight little contact there. I want to check out what happened to Michael LeMay. Oh, he goes wide, doesn't quite fortunately get that run. And he finishes, well, to be fair for Mike, he finishes in the top 10. Good job as we wait for Phil Glover to come over the line now, who is going rather slowly, or is that just my eyes? Might just be my eyes.
It's normal speed, yeah, but 13th place only for Phil Glover, I'm afraid. Race undone very much at the start of this one when he made contact with Paul LeMay, who did actually soldier on in that race after pitting. He finishes 15th, ahead of James Ritchie, who was the only driver to not actually take the checkered flag here, although he does score enough points, or score enough laps to take the points from today. And so that is that. Road Atlanta for another year, one of the popular circuits on the Radical Race Series calendar, always produces fantastic racing. No last lap lead changes, which is a rarity actually around here. You always get them, but apart from tonight, it was a dominant final couple of lap display from Mike Buson, who really deserved that race win. 7 tenths of a second ahead of James Barry, who overtook Luke Maxwell at the end there. John McCutcheon very nearly denied him of a podium altogether. Paul Clark was there for a while, but slipped to 5th in the end. George Gonzaga held off Robert Woodward for 6th at the end there, with Graham Brown and Michael LeMay coming over together. Abdul Al-Amri made contact with Paul Crabb at the end. They finished 10th and 11th ahead of Damien G. Then Phil Glover, who finished on his own, but the last driver on the lead lap. Simon Edwards and Paul LeMay were one down after making their pit stops. James Ritchie never returned after cartwheeling and crashing and losing all of his bodywork in one go at turn 5. That was the end of his day, unfortunately, but still managed to score enough laps to be classified today. So that's the good news. Let's chat to some of the drivers after this one, like James Barry, who is quick to join us tonight. Welcome in, James. Good to have you with us in that leading group for quite some time. How would you assess that sort of second race and that battle between the four of you?
Well, it could have gone either way, couldn't it? Mike did an amazing job in the end. Luke had the best position going to the end, but he said on the mic he made a mistake on one of the laps, and that put Mike and myself back in contention. And John, of course, and it all got very hairy at some points. But I mean, yeah, Mike did the best job, so hats off to him.
We noticed a bit of a pace difference for you in the second race compared to the first, where you didn't quite seem yourself, or at least not quite what we'd seen from you in the last couple of weeks. We've scored on average a huge amount of points. In the first race, that didn't seem quite so obvious, but it seemed to be back again for the second race. Was there any difference there?
Well, the story is yesterday my VR headset stopped working, so I've been having to practice just on my single normal monitor last couple of days. And first race, I was actually, at some point I was kind of challenging for the lead, and then there was a little incident and I found myself in 6th. And then I thought, okay, I'm just going to look after myself here, put myself in a good position for the feature race, and then just go all out in the feature race and try and kind of get damage limitation, because I knew obviously I'm trying to fight for the championship, and I knew the other guys got good points in first race, so I thought I'd prioritize the second race.
Well, there we go. That explains that one. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to, James, before we let you go?
Just everyone who's taken part. It's really good fun as always, so thanks a lot, everyone.
Is certainly. James, congratulations on second place in the feature race today, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, cheers guys, see you.
Thanks very much, James Barry there on the podium again at Road Atlanta today. Continuing what's been a very good start to the season for him, but a very good race overall. Certainly second one for Mike Booton, who can now join us. Welcome in, Mike. Good to have you with us, and a really good performance from you in the second race to go and win. How are you feeling about that after the race?
I'm feeling very happy, but very sweaty. But yeah, no, second Road Atlanta win. So yeah, really pleased with that.
Yeah, and it was a good performance as well, not only in terms of racecraft, which you've already spoken about at length, but in terms of the speed as well. Were you expecting to have the kind of speed that you did today in those races?
I know I'm fast there. The only issue I have is making my moves at the right time. Otherwise, I'm just sitting duck because I run all the downforce there is. So I have to make it up in the wiggly section, as I'll call it. So if I don't get the gap right, getting onto the back straight, obviously that person I've overtaken is just coming straight back at me. But it worked.
And how important was that sort of jockeying for position going on to the last lap? Were you confident you were going to hold on through the white flag?
To be fair, I hadn't realised I'd made the move at that point. To be brutally honest, I didn't even know how far we were on. I was so concentrated on trying to keep looking forward. But when I'd seen the white flag, I thought to myself, yeah, I've got this. I've got enough of a gap that going over the line that I'm much faster in the next, I don't know, 5-6 corner complex, that I'd have enough gap to, even if I had to drive defensive on the last line, I'd would have been able to take the win. So yeah, over the moon with that.
Well, congratulations on that. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Well, my favourite commentator, you, obviously. and John for an amazing setup, and Team Radline.
Just stunned silence.
Well, that's, you won the award because of the stupid noises playing in the background, which I can only imagine there's one person that's got the button for that.
Yeah, Ewan.
I don't believe that for a moment. He's a dedicated professional to his craft.
Oh, I just enjoy the fact that I've watched you win, Mike. You can even watch it. I even cheered you on, Mike, halfway through. I was like, Mike looks unstoppable.
I just put a new turbo on my John Deere 3410, which is obviously giving me an extra 10 bhp. So also shout out to John Deere tractors.
I did put that in general as well. You got a new combine harvester this week, so you must have been happy.
Well, yeah, that's it. I've upgraded.
Sorry, Ewan. Yeah. Sorry, we'll let you go back to being professional. You carry on. Mike, stop it.
It's all right. You can enjoy your Somerset banter. That's fine.
Yeah, but he's not proper Somerset, is he? He's some sort of weird import.
What?
Import.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm an asylum seeker.
That is the least Somerset accent I've ever heard in my life.
That is true, to be fair. Yeah.
Don't you start here, right? Or you come round there and get my tractor right on you.
It's Wing Canton, it's where the poor Somerset people live.
You are cheeky.
Well, anyway, before we upset anyone else, we'll let Mike go. Thanks very much for chatting to us again, and congratulations.
Happy Easter, everyone.
And you, Mike.
Yes.
Bye.
Happy Easter. See you later. Mike Booston there. Enjoying his win. I wish I'd never mentioned some of it.
You started it.
I did, to be fair. We'll move on now and chat to John McCutcheon, who's back again after a week away. Welcome back, John. Good to have you with us, and good to see you fighting for podiums again in the second race, certainly, and fighting for wins, of course, in the first, for which you were successful. Congratulations on the first race win, of course. Were you surprised that Edwards didn't give you more of a challenge in those final couple of laps?
Yeah, thanks, Ewan. No, I knew what he was up to. He was trying to get the last lap run on the last lap because he looked like he was faster on the straight, but a little weave or two and that was him done.
Yeah, it was a race win for you in the first, but was there any particular reason for you not being able to get through the field very quickly in the second? Because we noticed you and Simon were still 9th and 10th at the end of the first lap, which is unusual for you both.
Yeah, it took me 2 laps this time, sorry. I need to up my game.
Not blinking good enough, John. You need to get on with it, son.
No, there was a lot of chaos out there, a lot of checking up and stuff, so no, it was tough, but I really enjoyed the races tonight. Really good.
Yeah, it's always good to be at Road Atlanta. What's your sort of schedule looking like for the season, John? How much are we going to be seeing you?
Won't make next week, but hopefully the weeks after that should be okay. You know, so
we look forward to it. Yeah, look forward to it. Is there anyone like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Oh, a shout out to Tractor Boy.
Hey.
On the win. He must have a Ferrari engine in that car.
Hey, John Deere, he got a new one, didn't
he? No, well, he had good pace tonight. Well done.
Yeah, certainly. Congratulations on your first race win, John, of course, and thanks for chatting to us as well.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Okay.
Thanks very much, John McCutcheon there, the race 1 winner tonight. Well, that just about does it from Road Atlanta. Another great event at this great venue, complete. And now we go to Watkins Glen, which we see a little bit less, quite a lot less in the Radical Race Series, actually. But we're never too aggrieved to come to this location all over again. And Road Atlanta has delivered all over again. As I said, a lack of last lap lead changes, which always seems to happen around this circuit for whatever reason. However, we had a great event nevertheless, 2 good races. And now we move on to the remainder of the season, for which we still have a very long way to go.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing, I think. Welcome in, Slicks, by the way, buddy. Just seeing you pop into YouTube chat there as well. I think this season's going to be epic. It's so open at the moment. I know we're only at round 3, and I really don't have any right to get excited. But I think going forward, when we hit round 6 and it's still all mixed up, I think that second half, mate, it's going to be fireworks. I really do.
Yep, we look forward to it. Thanks very much to everyone who has joined us here tonight. Lots of people chatting along with us actually today. So make sure you subscribe to the JPB YouTube channel and check out for all the other broadcasts that are going along here this week. And until we see you again, of course, in 1 week's time, we'll be back again, same time, same place, for another instalment of the Radical Race Series as we take on round 4 of this championship at Watkins Glen in 7 days' time. Thanks very much to everyone for tuning in. I've been Ewan O'Leary, James Parfitt alongside me here for this round of the championship. And until we see you next Thursday, it's goodbye for now.